Okay, welcome back to the channel. Take my earbud out here. So we've been working on this isometric room, sort of adding furniture to it, building the walls, the window. Last video we made this desk. It's kind of a standing desk. It's kind of like the desk I have, but I never stand at. But today I want to put a computer on this desk. So like a monitor, a mouse, keyboard, and the computer I use is a Mac Mini, M4 Mac Mini. So it's a little square. So we're gonna put a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor on this. So I'm gonna start with the monitor. It's the biggest piece. So we're gonna add a cube, and we're gonna do G to grab up the Z axis, G to grab Y, just get it near the desk. Okay, now I kind of roughly know the dimensions I want this to be. So I'm gonna hit N on my keyboard to bring up this menu. And I want it to be on the y-axis 1 inch thick. So it's a thin monitor, kind of like that. On the z-axis, I want it to be 14. So, and then 24 feels about right for the width. So that kind of feels like my monitor. So I'm going to do a Control A, apply the scale. I'll hide this menu now. So let's position this just to get proportions right. So I'm going to go to the top view. So that's the squiggly line just under the escape key to get that menu to come up. So G to grab X axis, something like that. G to grab Y, move it back here. That feels about right. And height wise, I think I have a little higher. So G to grab Z, something like that. That looks good. So we're going to zoom in on this monitor. And we're going to model it with a single cube. So I'm going to do tab into face mode. And a Command R for, I'm going to add an edge loop. I'm going to roll my mouse wheel forward once to get 2 edge loops. Click to accept that. And click a second time. And then I need to S to scale on the X axis. And I'm going to move them in something like that. And then I do another Command R, roll my mouse wheel forward once, click, and then click to accept it a second time. And then S to scale, Z axis, and I just want to bring these down, something like that. So now I got edge loops all the way around it, and I don't need or want those. I just need them on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm holding my Shift key and hold down Option, and I'm going to click these two. So now I got edge loop selected all the way around. So now holding down my Shift key, not the Option key, I'm going to sort of deselect all these edge loops at the back. Like this. Now I'm going to go around to the front and I'm just going to right click on any of these edge loops, any of them, just right click, and then go down to dissolve, not delete, but dissolve edges. So it gets rid of all the edges I don't want or need. So now I'm going to tab into face mode. I'm going to click in the center square and I'm going to do G to grab on the Y axis and just pull that out, kind of like that. I don't know what's inside the monitor there, but my monitor has a bump in the back. I'm sure it's all the stuff that makes it work. So staying in face mode, I'm going to E to extrude along the Y axis, and I'm just going to pull out a little bit. Move me out of the way here. And I'm going to type in a dimension here on the Y axis. I want it to be, I'm in by the way, scene properties. I'm in imperial unit system, and length is inches. So I'm going to put in a 0.5. And then I'm going to do an click again, E to extrude, Y, and I do another 0.5. 0.5. And just click anywhere to kind of accept that. Now I'm going to grab this face at the bottom right here. So it's the second extrusion we did, this one here. And I'm going to get a look at it this way. So I'm going to E to extrude, Z axis. I'm going to come all the way down almost to the desk. Something like that. That looks good. Now I'm going to do E to extrude again, Z axis. But this time I'm going to type in a dimension 0.5. And click anywhere to kind of accept that. And then I'm going to click on this front face here, the one we just extruded. I'm going to do E to extrude y-axis, and I'm going to bring this out. This is like the stand for the monitor. So that looks pretty good. Now, keeping that face selected, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to select all these faces on this base. And I'm going to do an extrusion by doing, hold down the Option key, hit E, and it brings up this menu. I'm going to extrude along normals. Now, if you just slide your mouse away from you, if you slide it towards you, they go in. You slide it away from you, it goes out like that. And I like that. That looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna stay in face mode. I'm gonna select this face here, and get a look at the front here. I to inset, and then move your mouse one way or the other. I'm moving mine to the left. This is the bezel of the monitor. And then I'm going to E to extrude y-axis back like that. That looks good. So that is a back into object one. So that is a monitor of a single cube, which is kind of neat. So now that we've got that built, let's add a mouse. Now let's add the computer. So I mentioned I use an M4 Mac Mini. So I'm going to add a cube. And I'm going to move me out of the way here. I'm going to do G to grab Z-axis. And I know roughly the size of this. So I'm going to bring in on my keyboard, bring out this menu. And it's roughly 5 by 5. So it's 5 inches square, 2 inches tall. Mac Minis are really small. They're and powerful. I think they're great computers. I highly recommend, if you use a desktop a lot, a Mac Mini is a great value. So I'm going to do a Control A, apply the scale, and I'm going to G to grab Y, move it back here, G to grab Z, move it up. So I'm going to go to the top view. So remember that line, that key just below the escape key brings up this menu, top view. So G to grab Y, I'm just going to place this, G to grab X, something like that. And then we're gonna, okay, that looks good. So I'm just gonna hide everything. So the / key hides everything except the active object. So N on my keyboard to hide this menu. So I'm gonna go into edge mode and I select the corners. So the Mac Mini has kind of rounded corners. So I'm gonna do a Command B and then roll your mouse. Now roll your mouse wheel forward to get more edges. And I think we want like a whole bunch. Something like that. That looks like my Mac Mini. Might be a little tall, but it's pretty close. So I'm going to tab in object mode. And on the bottom of the Mac Mini is this circle thing. So we're going to add it. So zoom out here. We're going to add a cylinder. Mesh cylinder. And we are going to rotate this on the x-axis 90 degrees. Nope, we're not going to rotate it. It's in the perfect orientation. So scale it down, G to grab, get it close to this thing. Go into top view. We're gonna G to grab X, G to grab Y, something like that. Okay, so we're going to scale this down quite a bit more. So scale down. Let's, in the S to scale on the Z axis, we need this to way down. So I have this add-on, it's called Quick Snap. And I've done a video on it. So if you go on my channel and you look at my videos, you'll see I did a pretty good video, but it snaps objects together. And I've created a shortcut for mine. It's called Shift Q. And this is the menu here. You can snap to vertices, edge midpoints, whatever. Right now I've got it set to snap to face centers, which for what I'm doing right now is ideal. So I'll just show you how it works. So Shift Q to invoke Quick Snap, and see it's looking for a center to snap from. So I'm clicking on this, and then it's going to snap right to the center of that other object, and it's just magical. It's a free add-on. I highly recommend it. It should be standard in um, Blender as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to scale this down. So we're going to go to the bottom view, get a good look at this. Actually, that's a perfect size right there. So G to grab, Z, move it up like that. So I'm going to do a Command A to apply the scale. I'm going to tap into face mode, and I'm going to scale this down. S to scale, just move your mouse. And then G to grab, Z. And that looks a lot like my Mac Mini. So pretty happy with that. Go into object mode. I'm going to join these two objects. So shift and click. So select one, hold down shift, select the other. Object, join. So now they're one object. So that's perfect. So / to bring everything back. So there we got our computer basically and our monitor. So now we need a mouse and a keyboard. So let's do the mouse next. So I'm going to add a cube. G to grab Z, G to grab Y. Now I kind of roughly know the size of a mouse. So N on the keyboard. It's very helpful if you're familiar with the dimensions of things you're trying to build. It gets you kind of where you're going in a hurry. So along the x-axis, I want it to be like maybe 4 and maybe 6 inches on the Y, maybe 2 inches high, roughly. So G to grab Z, G to grab X, just position it. That looks about right. I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the scale. So Control A, apply scale, get rid of this. And then / get rid of everything else. So we're just left with our mouse. Looks like a brick, not a mouse, but we're going to change that. So move me over here. So let's add a modifier. So add modifier, it's under generate, and it's going to be a subdivision surface modifier. And we're going to increase the levels here. So that's 2, something like that. So I like that. So we won't apply it just yet because we need to do some more shaping to this. So I'm going to tab into face mode and do Command R to add an edge loop. So it's very important you don't apply the modifier yet. So we added an edge loop. We're going to drag it all the way down to the bottom. And then we're going to select this edge and this, holding down shift, this edge. And we're going to do S to scale on the x-axis, and we're going to pull those in like that. And we'll grab this edge, G to grab Z. I like that. And, I might just bring this up. So select this edge, G to grab Z, something like that. That's very mouse looking now. So I'm going to go ahead and apply, we'll go back into object mode. We'll go ahead and apply this. And what we're going to do now is, now we can go into edge mode, and now we have access to all these edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to select, tediously select. So holding down shift, I'm selecting a bunch of edges that are going to form the mouse buttons. Oh, this thing keeps moving around. Maybe one more. I'm clicking all over the place. Okay, so we're just going to keep selecting. And we'll go the other way here. And we'll go up. So these are the two buttons on the mouse that we're kind of outlining. I know this is tedious, but this is an effective way to do it. Deselect that one. So there we go. That's kind of the, so now we're going to do a Command B to bevel. Oh, now it's remembering all the edge loops from the previous Command B. So roll your mouse wheel backwards So you have no edge loops in the middle. And something like that. Just kind of like that. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So now option E brings up this menu, extrude along normals, and then move your mouse in, forward, you get this. You move it back, you get this. And that's what we're looking for right there. That's perfect. So tab back into object mode. I like that. Now we're going to add a subdivision service modifier again. So add subdivision service modifier. And we won't add any more segments to this. We'll go ahead and apply that. And then I'm going to right click on this, shade smooth, and that is an awesome looking mouse. The only thing we're missing is a scroll wheel. So let's add a cylinder. And we are going to R to rotate on the Y axis 90 degrees. And we're going to scale this way down. G to grab. Go into top view here, just so we can get this thing positioned. So G to grab Y, G to grab X, and then we'll zoom in here. And we'll do G to grab Z. Oh, select this. G to grab Z, up like this. Now we're going to scale this thing way down. Scale this way down. I'm going to scale it on the X axis. So S to scale, X. Just zoom in here. And we still got to scale that down quite a bit. So G to grab Z. It's getting closer. G to grab Y. Scale it down a bit more. G to grab Y. Scale. So I'm just doing it till it kind of looks right. That's looking pretty good actually. So G to grab X. Oh, G to grab Y. G to grab Z. So you just, it just to randomly move this. It's very helpful to move it in a direction. G to grab X. So I always pick an axis to move it on, because if you're just moving it in space, you can kind of get lost. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to select the mouse and the wheel, and I'm going to join these objects. Okay, that looks good. So let's bring / to bring back everything. There's a mouse. So the only thing we're missing is a keyboard. Keyboard is going to take a bit of time here. So I'm going to add a plane. And I'm going to / to hide everything. I'm going to go into the top view. And I'm going to add a reference image. We're going to make the keyboard. I use an Apple keyboard, so that's what we're going to reference. And this is a website, dimensions.com. This is where I got this keyboard from. And I got the dimensions from here. So I'm going to just add a image reference. I've got it on my desktop here. So this is the image. So now here's the dimensions of the keyboard. It's roughly 11 inches wide by 5 inches the other way. So N on my keyboard, I'm going to give this on the X, I'll make it 12. Oh, I did the wrong thing here. So I want to change the dimensions of the plane. So this will be 12. And this will be 5. So you can see my image is way too big. This is roughly the size of the keyboard it's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the scale to this. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to size this image to the plane I just added. So click on the image, scale. G to grab, we're going to kind of center this. G to grab X. And we'll scale it down. GX. So I'm trying to get it to be the roughly the same size as that plane. G. Something like that. Let's zoom in a bit here. So scale it down a bit more. There. I think that is perfect. Okay. So I like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select this plane and tab into vertex mode. So all 4 vertexes are selected. And you go up here and go to X-ray mode so I can see the image underneath. So that's this button right here. Toggle to X-ray. So I'm going to do a Shift Command B. That's what you need to do to bevel a plane. And just move your mouse. I'm moving my mouse to the right. And I'm going to roll my mouse wheel forward to add some more vertices. Maybe that. I like that. So I'm going to click to accept that, tab back into object mode. Now I'm going to hide this thing we just created. And I'm going to add yet another plane. And I'm going to scale this S to scale way down. G to grab. So now we're going to make a key. G to grab X. And we're going to use a modifier. So don't worry, I'm not going to make each individual key. So scale this way down. G to grab Y. G to grab X. So just get this roughly placed. So we're going to tab into edge mode. And we are going to go into X-ray mode. And you know what? We'll just click on this top one, G to grab Y. It's important to get these right because we're going to use this to do all the keys. So G to grab Y. Okay, so I like that. So now I'm going to tap back into object mode and I'm just going to apply the scale to this before I forget. So tab into vertex mode. Make sure you got all 4 vertexes selected. Go to X-ray mode and do Shift Command B and then move your mouse to the right. And that looks pretty good. I like that. So click to accept that. Tab back into object mode and zoom back out. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add a modifier, an array modifier. And to see it's added a second key, but it's too close. So right here, we're going to change this, the offset. So let's try 1.1. That looks pretty good. So now we're going to increase the count. That looks good. So do a Shift D to duplicate, G to grab Y, and G to grab X. That looks good. Shift D to duplicate, G to grab Y, G to grab X, Shift D to duplicate, G to grab Y, G to grab X. And we got one too many here, so we're going to reduce this by 2. So Shift D, G to grab Y, G to grab X, and we'll reduce this by 1. Okay, and Shift D, G to grab Y, G to grab X. So we're just positioning it to line up with this image. And we're going to reduce this by a whole bunch. So there we go. And we'll do a Shift D, G to grab X. And we're going to add one more to this just to finish off that keyboard. So, okay, that looks good. So now we just have to deal with these different sized keys. So I'm going to do a Shift D to duplicate, G to grab Y, go up here. Now we don't need this modifier on this one, so I'm going to delete it here, like X over here. And I'm going to tab into edge mode. and I'm going to select that. So we got to, oh, I was in faces, sorry, edge mode. So we're going to select, I'll show you what happens. If you just select this edge and you go G to grab X, you get this. So you got to select these corners as well. The radiuses we added, so G to grab X, like that. Tab back into object mode. We'll do a Shift D, G to grab Y, that there. Shift D, G to grab X, G to grab Y. You notice I always move this on an axis. If you just start moving it, you end up all over the place. Like you just don't know where you are on the keyboard. So Shift D, G to grab Y. Tab into edge mode. And it's remembering our selection from previously. G to grab X. And we'll tab into object mode. Shift D to duplicate, G to grab X. We're almost done. So grab this one, Shift D, G to grab Y. Tab into edge mode. Remember, they're already selected, so G to grab X. Tab into object mode. Shift D to duplicate, G to grab X. And then Shift D to duplicate, G to grab Y. G to grab X. And we'll do this big key first. So tab into edge mode. G to grab X. Tab into object mode. We'll duplicate this again. Shift D. G to grab Y. G to grab X. And we'll tab into edge mode. G to grab X. Tab into object mode. Shift D, G to grab X. There. We got all of our keys done. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and apply all these modifiers. These array modifiers. So apply. If you don't apply these, when we end up adding modifiers or joining objects, so you'll end up in a really bad place where nothing is where you want it. So now I'm going to select all, so hold down, click the top key one, hold down Shift, click the bottom one. All the keys are selected. Go to Object and Join. Now, so Command Z. So I didn't apply all my modifiers. See that? Oh, there's one right there. So apply. Yeah, I missed applying a few. So if you don't apply your modifiers and you join objects, nothing, you get crazy things happening. So I will try this again. Object, join. Oh, I missed two. So there's still modifiers. Got to check them all. Right there. Okay, all the modifiers have been applied. Object, join. There we go. So this, we'll bring this back. This is name some of these things. Keyboard. And this will be the keys. Now keep them a separate object because they're going to be different colors. So now we have to, I'm going to hide these keys and we'll deal with the keyboard. Now we can see the keyboard right here. It's at the thickest point is 0.43 inches and the thinnest is 0.16. So tab into, we're going to select this plane, which is the keyboard. Tab into face mode. We're going to E to extrude on the Z axis and just drag it up a little bit. And then this menu pops up and we'll make it 0.45. Okay, that looks good. So now, actually I'll hide this image. It's called the empty. So now we are going to tab into edge mode and we're going to select this edge, and I'm just going to zoom in here, this edge, and this edge, and with the same over here, this edge. So with all those edges selected, we're going to go G to grab Z axis and just pull that down like that, something like that. And actually, you know what? We're going to select all this top edge. So I'm going to hold down Option key, click this, and they're all selected. I can do a Command B. I want to bevel this a bit, something like that. Okay, so now we'll bring back our keys, and we are going to do G to grab Z, like that. And now we're going to tab into face mode, and we're going to select all of these, and we're going to E to extrude and Z axis, something like that. I like that. So tab back into object mode. Next, we're going to add a modifier, a bevel modifier to these, and we'll increase this a little bit, something like that. That looks good. I go ahead and apply that. So now we're going to take a left view here. So I'll zoom in. So G to grab Z. Then I'm going to rotate this on the X axis. Just bring it down. That G to grab Z. Something like that. So that is I like that. That's a keyboard. So / bring everything back. Now I'll select these over here. G to grab Z. G to grab Y. You notice I never just move stuff. I always move it along an axis. You'll get lost if you don't. So go to top view, G to grab X, something like that. And then move this mouse over, G, X. That looks good. I like that. So let's add a bit of color to this. So we're going to our HDR mode. So we're going to, oh, they're just hovering in air. So we're going to bring this keyboard down. G to grab Z. There we go. And our mouse is hovering. G to grab Z. Oh, this is hovering too. G to grab Z. Okay, so let's add some color to some stuff here. You know, I got to color the rest of the room. I just haven't got around to it. I don't know why. I enjoy building models more than anything. So let's go to materials, and I want to add a. So we're going to select this. I want to add like a silver color to the monitor, like a Mac Studio display, and we'll bring up the metallic here. I'll give it a name. And we're going to use this on a few things. So the monitor, actually, I'll make that a little bit lighter. That looks good. So we're going to make this the same color. So I called it silver. Where is it? Silver. So wait, the keyboard is going to be silver. Okay. And then the keys are going to be white. So I'll just do that. And I'm going to make the mouse the same white. Now I just want to click on this monitor, tab into face mode, select the face, and I'm going to add a new color, new, and I'm going to make it black. And I'm going to click assign. You got to hit assign while the face is selected. So tab into object mode. So that is my, you can see the keyboard is, it's kind of the keys are white, and the keyboard itself is silver. That's kind of the look I was going for. So that is it. Oh, I might get some more lighting in here. Let me just add a light. So I'm going to go to add light, point light, and I'm going to G to grab X, and G to grab Z. See how that looks. Oh, much better. You know, over here, we're going to add some color to these walls. I keep meaning to do that. So we're going to add, we're going to make these like a, something like that. And this trim, I think I'll make the trim, well, we'll leave it like that for now. So that is a computer on a desk. So thanks for watching. If you like what you're watching, I know this is a longer video. I usually do shorter ones. Give it a like. Consider subscribing. It really helps my channel. I'm just starting out. Anyway, stay tuned. We're going to keep building on this room. Making isometric rooms is a great way to uh, build models, and it helps you with proportions, like you've seen with this desk and this computer. How important it is to know measurements in working in real world dimensions. So thanks for watching. If there's something that you'd like to see added to this room or anything else, put it in the comments down below, and we'll see what we can do. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.